The seasonal salt marsh located in central Gujarat in western India, known as the Little Rann of Kutch, is one of India's top birding destinations, as it combines dry desert land with estuarine wetlands and freshwater lakes. It is about 5,000 square kilometers in size and was an extension of the shallow Arabian Sea until geological uplift closed off the connection with the sea, creating a vast lake. Over the centuries, silting has created an extensive saline mudflat. During the brief wet season, the mudflat becomes flooded. It then becomes parched under the relentless, searing heat of the long dry season. The July to September monsoon rains inundate the vast flood area to a depth of half a metre. Several rivers drain into the Rann during the monsoon. A number of sandy, salt-free areas of higher ground lie above the flood level and provide wet season refuges for the ecoregion's wildlife. These refuges are known as bets, and on these you will find most of the terrestrial birds of the region. The vegetation consists of grasses and dry, thorny scrub. The main tree in the area is the exotic Prosopis uliflora, an invasive plant from North America, known more widely as mesquite. Seed pods from the Prosopis provide year-round food for the wild ass, a horse-like animal endemic to the Little Rann, which is the main attraction for wildlife safaris. Rann Riders, an eco-friendly resort near Dhasada village, about 100 kilometers from Ahmedabad, is an ideal place to base oneself while visiting this area. The Malik family, whose ancestors have been the rulers of Dhasada since the 15th century, established this resort in 1998. Near the reception, the resident avifauna will greet you from the start. The resort has imaginatively designed cottages made from local materials, designed to recreate the appearance of a village that blends with the rural countryside in which it is situated. The cottages resemble the Kuba houses of the Bajania community of Dhasada and the Bunga houses of the Raparis of Kutch, decorated with mirrors, mud plasterwork and embroideries. All rooms are air-conditioned, with Western-style bathrooms with hot and cold water. Food is served on a buffet table in an open, large hall that serves as a dining and resting room. There is a swimming pool with sunbathing couches at the back of the resort. In medieval times, the Maliks of Dhasada led the cavalry of the Sultan of Gujarat on the battlefield. Keeping to their tradition, they keep fine horses in the resort, which are now used for horse safaris. However, a standard safari is now done with a jeep, and experienced naturalists will take you to the birding sites to find the birds. Rann Riders also do their utmost to help the local community, and women from the Mir tribe that live in a camp at the entrance of Dhasada village about a kilometre north of the resort are permitted to sell their handicrafts in the resort's premises. Most of the Little Rann of Kutch is protected within the Wild Ass Sanctuary. Established in 1972, this is the largest wildlife sanctuary in India, and it is the last place in the world where the Indian wild ass can be found. Protecting this animal is one of India's biggest conservation successes. In 1960, the wild ass became a victim of a disease known as surra, which caused a dramatic decline in its population to only 362 animals. The Forest Department established waterholes and created fodder plots, and the population increased and now stands at more than 4,000 animals. The wild ass, or kur, as it is known locally, can now easily be spotted anywhere in the Rann. Protecting the Little Rann has benefited other large herbivores, such as the blue bull and Indian gazelle. For birdwatchers, there are three main areas. The first is near Bajana, where the river Okaro-Karagoda flows into the Rann. This is the main entrance to the wildlife sanctuary, and after driving through scrub forest where the wild ass can be seen, you will reach the flat, endless, dusty, salty land of the little Rann of Kutch. It is advised to drive slowly, as dust will enter your vehicle and cover everything. After a while, you will reach the water body of the river Okaro, where in winter you will find hundreds of water birds. You will need to take special care in cleaning your lenses, as the dust is unavoidable. The dominant bird in this area is the flamingo. Both greater and lesser occur. The lesser flamingo is smaller and has shorter legs and is darker pink than the greater. The lesser flamingo also differs in the coloration of the beak. It has a deep red bill tipped with black, whereas the bill of the greater flamingo is light pink tipped with black. Lesser flamingos have a highly specialized diet, consisting almost entirely of microscopic algae, found only in alkaline lakes, salt pans, and saline lagoons and estuaries. This is what makes them congregate more in this area, while greater flamingos can be found more upstream and in freshwater lakes. The only known place where flamingos breed in India is in the Great Rann of Kutch. They have high demands of their breeding grounds, and if conditions are not right, they may not breed at all. A proposed road near the border with Pakistan, near their breeding grounds in the Great Rann of Kutch, is a major threat, as they may stop breeding altogether and the population may go extinct. Probably the most interesting bird for a twitcher in this area is the Dalmatian pelican. These winter here in small numbers, but are easy to find as they are huge birds and can be approached relatively closely. It's a vulnerable bird with a population estimated at around 10,000 mature individuals. They can be easily distinguished from the white pelicans that also winter in the Rann. They have silvery white plumage, yellow to purple bare skin around the eyes, orange-red gular patch, black legs and bushy crest on the nape, and in flight, pale grey underwings becoming darker at the wingtips. The white pelican is slightly smaller, has pinkish white plumage and a yellow gular patch, much more extensive bare skin around the eye, a downward hanging crest, pink legs and all dark flight feathers. The river becomes a little deeper as you follow it towards the highway and becomes unsuitable for lesser flamingos. Here you may find all types of water birds, mainly greater flamingos, waders, ducks, cranes, gulls and terns. These water birds are active throughout the day, and if your time is short, it is advisable to come here in the afternoon and visit the arid area in the morning. The second birding site is in the arid area. The entrance to this area is via a large, ancient gate called Madapol Gate in the village of Zinzuwada. This gate, together with 3 other gates, is what is left of this 900-year-old fort, which was built with a distinctive Maru Gurjar architectural style. Zinzuwada Fort is one of the finest examples of exclusively Hindu fortifications not influenced by Islamic architecture. Built in the 11th century by the Solanki rulers, the fort features huge stone slabs with exquisite stone carvings and inscriptions on its walls. Today, however, Zinzuwada is a typical village in Surendranagar district in central Gujarat, where Hindus and Muslims live together peacefully. Past the gate, there is a deposit collection of salt, where salt produced in the Rann is gathered and loaded onto lorries. Salt harvesting is the main business here. It is said that 75% of India's demand for salt is produced here. The groundwater in the Rann is 10 times saltier than seawater that is pumped out using bores and then filled into fields of about 25 by 25 meters. As the sun beats down on this water, it gradually turns into silvery salt. Driving a little further, you enter the vast saline mudflat that in this area of the Rann is flooded only after heavy rain, and during most of the year, it is safe to drive on. Soon, any sights and sounds of modern civilization disappear, and you enter the world of nomads with their livestock that live in harmony with their neighbors, the wild animals. You will surely encounter small herds of wild ass that in late August still care for their young, or a single or small herd of blue bulls. Dotted across the saline mudflat are sandy islands covered with grass and the invasive Prosopis uliflora. These islands are called bets, and they offer refuge not only for wild animals, but also for nomadic people that graze their cattle and sheep in this area. While water birds are easy to spot in the open wetland, here on the bet is where you will need to be skilled, and where your guides become very handy. Some resident birds, like chestnut-bellied sandgrouse and Indian courser, are common and easy to find. Others, like cream-coloured courser and greater hoopoe lark, are rarer, and you will need more time if you want to look for these birds. Towards the end of August and in early September, Indian bushlark can still be heard singing, and passage migrants start to arrive. Birds like European roller, spotted flycatcher, and rufous-tailed bush robin may be common in Europe and the Middle East and will matter less for visiting birders, but in India they appear for a very short time and only in the arid areas of Gujarat and Rajasthan. In this time I also spotted one of India's most enigmatic birds, Stolichka's or white-browed bushchat. This very little-known bushchat is endemic to the arid areas of northwest India and perhaps adjoining districts in Pakistan. It migrates between Kutch and Churu districts in North Rajasthan, but very little is known about its behavior. By November, most of the winter visitors are arriving. The bets of the little Rann of Kutch are probably the best place in India to photograph short-eared owls. These birds roost during the day in the shadow of the Prosopis uliflora. One morning I found no fewer than 11 birds in less than 2 hours. The most important bird that attracts birdwatchers to the little Rann is probably McQueen's bustard. They winter here in small numbers, and if disturbed, they can be seen running in the grass on the bets and taking off and flying some distance. These birds are heavily poached in neighbouring Pakistan by rich Arabs, who traditionally used to hunt them using falcons. In these same Arab countries, there is a captive breeding program where McQueen's bustards, or hubara, as they are better known, are bred and later released into the wild. The bets and the saline mudflats are very good for raptors, which feed on the gerbils and lizards, which, like the nomads and other wildlife, find it very difficult to survive in other parts of the country where they are persecuted by farmers. Just before dark, harriers come to roost in the open saline mudflats. It is an impressive sight, but too dark for my camera. Fresh water is scarce in this arid area. The Forest Department has established many waterholes for wildlife and domestic animals to drink. For some reason, birds are attracted to some water places more than to others. Your guide should know where the best places are. Waterholes are heaven for photographers, and if you sit and don't move much, the birds will come close. It is worth spending time at these waterholes, as here you may encounter birds such as striolated and grey-necked buntings, lesser whitethroat, short-toed and ashy-crowned sparrowlarks, Eurasian and red-collared doves, and even raptors like shikra. While travelling between birding sites, you may see people walking on the road, singles or in small groups, dressed in white. These people belong to the Jain community. These people who believe in non-violence and tolerance to all forms of life are great supporters of nature conservation in India, and their impressive temples are scattered all over the state. All over Gujarat, and in fact all over India, there are large water bodies that are used for irrigation. These water tanks are wintering grounds for thousands of water birds. The water is fresh and differs from the saline water of the Little Rann, and lesser flamingo is very unlikely to be found in this habitat. Nawa Talab, between Dasada and Bajana, near Savda village, is the largest tank in the area. It was built in the British era, and its water is used to irrigate the fields of cotton and custard oil, which are the main cash crops of this district. It is a great place for birding, but you will have to ignore the non-stop noise of the water pumps. The talab, which means pond or pool in Hindi, gets its water from monsoon rain that dictates the level of the water. After the rainy season, the water retreats and leaves behind it vast grasslands where local herders graze their animals and many birds feed. The water is shallow and partly covered by long grass. You will need to spend some time here and approach the lake from different sides, as it is huge and it is difficult to locate the birds in the grass, even with a telescope. Thousands of water birds winter in this water tank, and the grassland around it is good for raptors, mainly large eagles, including the vulnerable imperial eagle. Later in the season, or in years when the monsoon fails, it is a very different scene in Nawa Talab. As the water level drops, the vegetation in the water dries and later disappears altogether. The fresh water turns saline, and large patches of ground turn white, exposing the salty earth. The lake turns into a classic habitat for lesser flamingos and waders, and they come here in their thousands. The land which is not covered in water turns into a vast grassland, which attracts wild ass, blue bulls, and various grassland birds like greylag geese and common cranes. This grassland is also an important wintering ground for one of the world's most enigmatic birds, the critically endangered sociable lapwing. This bird breeds mostly in the steppe area of Kazakhstan in Central Asia. It winters in Sudan, the Middle East, and South Asia. The reason for its decline is poorly known. Key factors explaining the magnitude of the declines remain poorly understood, despite much recent research. Illegal hunting during migration and on wintering grounds may now be the primary threat.